Welcome back, everybody, to the Too High McFly movie podcast. We appreciate you guys tuning in and making us your podcast today. My name is Kevin Lyons.
Daniel de Sangre.
Mike Candelet.
Jose Ramos.
This weekend, Dark Phoenix, the latest and final X-Men movie directed by Simon Kinberg, written by John Byrne, Chris Claremont, Dave Cockrum, and also written by Simon Kinberg, opened up this weekend. It's the Dark Phoenix starring Sophie Turner. Sophie Turner playing Jean Grey, the Phoenix, and all of the cast from the first class X-Men movies. And it's their last one because they're going to be moving on to Disney because Disney got the rights. So after the music, after the intro, we're just going to talk about this franchise so far as it's been under control of Fox, because it's all coming to an end. And then we're going to break down the Dark Phoenix movie for you guys, what we thought, and all the performances. And then we're going to get into what we think the future of the X-Men franchise under Disney control is going to be. So are you guys excited about this one or what?
No.
Not at all.
Not at all.
All right, hit it. All right, Dark Phoenix is here. We've been waiting for this one for a while. It's the final installment of the Fox's version of X-Men. And I think it's safe to say none of us were excited to see this movie.
No, I don't think anybody was.
I was.
You were?
Because I knew it was going to be awful.
Oh, okay.
I was just excited for Fox to finally just let go of the rights of X-Men.
Yeah.
Let it come home to Marvel.
It's just after Apocalypse, I was just like, I'm done. Apocalypse did it for me. I just wasn't. I had no interest to see a new one.
I mean, when the original X-Men movies were coming out, the Bryan Singer ones, right? He did the originals, and when those came out, they were cool. But after the third one, I kind of fell off. And so when we got the first class, I'm like, it's nice to see a new cast come in, but now it's in the same continuity and they're younger, so it's kind of like a period piece.
Well, part 3 was done by Brett Ratner.
Was it?
Yeah, that's why it's just completely different and doesn't feel the same, and it's just way over the top.
It's been weird. It's been a weird series. I feel it's been very up and down. It hasn't had just one motion in the way it's gone. It's just gotten better throughout, or it's gotten worse throughout.
Yeah.
So you had 1 and 2, 2 being considered the highlight. Then 3 wasn't good, so that was a drop. But
Followed by Origins.
Yeah.
Origins. But then First Class was actually pretty good. Days of Futures Past.
Oh, I think that's my favorite
good too.
X-Men movie.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
So it's just been up and down the entire time. It hasn't been
two.
progressively getting worse. It's just been, you'll get a few gems here and there, which kind of throw you off. Because you get Days of Futures Past, it's all right, maybe they're back. They're doing something good.
And then they did the worst one.
Then they get Apocalypse.
Oh, man.
And they did the worst one. And then this one kind of starts to come back up again.
Yeah.
It's
I can't believe how bad Apocalypse was. That was just an awful, awful movie. And it made it... I wasn't mad, though, because I just wasn't attached to the X-Men anymore. I mean, I thought First Class was okay. I didn't think it was amazing, but I liked the fresh take that they were doing with it. But it just felt like they've always lost their way. They didn't really know where to go from there. And we all kind of wanted to go back to Marvel. I know not all of us, but I do. I want to see what Marvel can do with the Fantastic Four. The X-Men.
I felt so bad for Oscar Isaac. You could see it in his eyes when he was Apocalypse. Oh, man, I feel your pain, bro. I'm sorry. I'm sitting to this movie, and it took you 3 months to film this.
It wasn't just the story. It was a lot of the VFX were really bad. I remember the dude with the metal wings flying, and it just looked so
Archangel.
like high school audiovisual club's final project. That's how bad it looked.
And it was weird. And I remember talking to a friend of mine, and he was still holding on hope. And his hope was based off of the recent track record of Fox. He's like, when it comes to these rights, yes, they had Apocalypse, but then they also had the 2 Deadpools, and they had Logan.
But it's not the same person.
But I'm saying it's under Fox.
Yeah.
So he was like, maybe they're on the uprise. Maybe they learned from Apocalypse.
No.
And they did
Fox
a little
learning.
bit better, but still, yeah, it's it's been ready, whether it was going under someone else or still under Fox. It's been ready for a complete reboot for a while now.
That's right, and that's why I'm kind of glad it's going with Marvel. But again, you made some great points. Whenever we talk about this, that Marvel shouldn't be in charge of everything, and I agree with you with that. But it is a Marvel property, and if it goes back to them, I think that they could do a really good job. And I think it's what the Marvel Cinematic Universe needs right now is a little bit of new X-Men. But
They will. And one of the drawbacks of the Fox X-Men verse or whatever it is you want to call it was so disjointed. Timelines all screwed up.
Yeah.
Nothing makes sense. They tried to erase some stuff, but then it screws up with other things too. It was just you could tell there was no plan.
yeah.
Like you see the MCU, there's a plan. You see the plan in motion. This was just as we go along. Hey, let's just do this. Maybe they won't notice.
You know what's great though? When Days of Future Past came out, Bryan Singer came out and he said that the only thing I really hope the fans can do is forgive me for some of the continuity we decided to ignore in order to tell the story. And that was, of course, Professor X not being dead anymore, and it's in the future. And I'm able to forgive things like that because it was such a great movie and it had stumbled since some of the ones that came before it.
Yeah, and that was, I guess, from recent things that I've read, that was supposed to be the end of the X-Men verse for Fox. That was the original plan. Was that Days of Future Past was going to be the end, but then something happened where they did that, and then they followed it up with Apocalypse
because it was that good. Stopped. That's why it was, because it was good, and they didn't know, like, hey, stop while you're ahead and fucking do something else.
I think not just that is through everything until until Dark Phoenix. Now, no matter how bad some of these movies were, they always made money.
Yeah. And like some of the characters, and even the ones that were bad, I mean, I still appreciated some of the characters that were in there. I mean, like Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy always do a great job.
Yeah, they
even when the movie stumbled, they were still great to watch in there, and some of the effects, except for not Apocalypse.
But just to go off what you're saying, it's annoying with what they've done with X-Men because it's been so obvious. Like, they realize, wow, we have J-Lo that's playing Mystique, this A-list actress. Let's bump up Mystique. It's like she was never an X-Men. Like, she wasn't. That wasn't her storyline, and they just completely revamped it just to give her acting scenes.
I think that's the drawback of casting such a popular actress as your villain. Is eventually people want to see her be the good. It's like the Arnold Schwarzenegger effect in the Terminator franchise.
Yeah.
Not to mention they kept on changing her design. Like she started off like she was very heavily stylized, which is what Mystique is supposed to be. She's a shapeshifter.
Yeah.
But then she slowly, progressively gets like less and less makeup through the 3 or 4 movies.
She hated that process, and I remember in Apocalypse, her makeup looked like wet clown blue makeup. It just looked like it was smeared on her face. It looked so bad and shiny.
So many things.
You know who didn't complain about it? Rebecca Romijn.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. She was an awesome Mystique, man. Still, no matter what Jennifer Lawrence does, she had that acrobatic feel of Mystique.
Yeah.
She barely talked.
In the original X-Men movies.
And it just seemed with this Mystique, they never knew what they wanted to do with her. It felt like every movie, there was a new motivation behind this character. It wasn't very consistent.
Yeah.
But anyway, it all leads up to Dark Phoenix. And this is going to be their final movie with Fox, and it kind of felt like it's senior year, and it's the last week of school, and the teacher just made you write a 5-page paper. That's what this movie felt a lot about. There was some really cool shit in it. So before we break it down, Jose, why don't you give us the plot of what Dark Phoenix was about?
Basically, just to simplify it, is Jean Grey gets the energy or possessed or whatever it is by the power, this cosmic power of a Phoenix in there, and it's her trying to contend with this new power while finding out aspects of her life that were hidden from her and the repercussions of that and how she reacts to that. While you have an alien race that's trying to gain that power.
Yep, that's
it.
That's about it.
Also took place in the 90s, and they didn't even have to show a Blockbuster video store to do it.
No,
Exactly.
So, you know what? I was okay with this movie. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I went in there thinking it was going to be a train train wreck like Apocalypse. While there were some bad parts in it and things I did not like, I thought that there was some actual really cool shit in there that I thought was pretty dope. What about you guys?
Yeah, it's sort of like we expected. They've trained us to expect a dumpster fire, and when we just get like a trash fire, it's like, oh, it wasn't as bad. You know, I can put it out real quick. It felt like that. Like it was. I don't know, man. Like I agree with you. I expected worse, but I'm not jaded by the fact by thinking, well, it's just because it's not as bad means it's a good movie. No, it's not a good movie, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been or probably should have been.
Yeah.
It was better than that.
What about you, Minnie?
I mean, when we watched it, I gave it a good 6 out of 10.
I'm around the 6 too.
It wasn't good, but it was definitely a movie that was like, oh, if it's on, I'll watch it. I'm not going to go out of my way to look for it, but if I'm flipping through the channels and there's nothing else on, that's it. I'll watch it while I do something else in the background.
What about you?
I came out of it at about 4 when it came to that, which is higher than Apocalypse. With it, I think as an audience, we've been traumatized. We've been, like Dan was saying, we've been beaten down by these movies so much that any little glimmer, we're seeing it like it's shiny. Like, oh, that's a shiny turd right there.
We've been so oppressed.
Yeah, so let's break down the story a little bit. And there were some rumors about them doing reshoots because it was too much like other movies, and I saw that in the exact opening scene of this movie. Is they open it up the same way Shazam opened up. Is the little kid, you see like one of the characters as a little kid driving with their parents, and then the little kid does something that causes this big accident in the car, and that's exactly how this opened up. And then you see, Professor X come in and basically adopt Jean, because Jean's driving with her family and she wants to listen to the radio, like her station, and the parents are like, we want to listen to this old music because it's classic. And then she's just like, fuck your car, and just crashes into a truck.
I gotta say, watching that intro, I enjoyed the intro and the way they did that. And I was looking at the screen like, wait, what is going on? This actually isn't too bad. This is pretty good. This is a good intro, the way they did this. So that was the start of the surprise right there.
But I did like it, but I did notice that similarity between that and the way Shazam opened up. It was very the same thing. But I liked Professor X, basically inviting Jean Grey to live with him, and I love that moment he had with the pen and the paper. Even though I don't understand why he was handing her a pen and a paper anyway, but when he's telling her, is like, this is a gift, like the pen, like the gift that you have, and you can take with it what you want. You can either draw a happy, fun picture, or you can poke somebody's eye out. Yeah. But it's up to you, and you always have that choice. And I actually liked that moment that he had between her. I thought that was really cool. And then it basically moves on to what I thought was a really great opening sequence when they're all X-Men and going on a mission.
Yeah, that was different because usually, like, the main thing with the X-Men is they're outcasts.
Yes.
Like, nobody wants them. They're fighting for equal rights. They're fighting for their place in society. And we open up with them getting a call from the fucking president
on the X phone, man. Yeah, that was cool.
It literally needed an X on it.
Yeah, like, can you go save them?
Yeah,
like their place in society is they're favorable. Like they're and that was a different take than anything that we've seen in any of the other X-Men movies and what most of the comic stories are. And it was different. It was
cool. That made me go, ooh, I like this. This feels very Commissioner Gordon calling up Batman. And I liked seeing all the X-Men ready. I remember when the set photos came out of their X-Men uniforms, and I'm just like, that looks fucking awful. It looks like a cheap hoodie you get on Amazon that isn't as good as you thought it was going to be.
It's a motorcycle
jacket.
It
looked bad. But it was the early 90s, and I kind of forgave that a lot right away. And I loved seeing them getting ready and going into space. And then for some reason, when you saw them all using their powers together, it felt really cool.
Dude, even
really cool.
Up to that moment, I was like, surprisingly, this is a good movie. Like, okay, now, I'm buying it. Like, yeah, there were little flaws, little things here and there, but I enjoyed it. It was good.
Yeah, and then it was this when they go into space and they run that mission where, for me, it created a problem for the X-Men verse, but for this movie, it was good. And that is the way the Phoenix goes in, and she absorbs the Phoenix, saving everyone
with the solar flare,
which it conflicts with what they established in Apocalypse, where it was like the Phoenix was already within her, is what they were hinting at before. And in here, she just gained this entity, and there's 9-year difference between like both movies or something like that. Because this was like 92, the other one was like 83. So for the verse, it created a problem for me. But viewing this as an individual movie away from everything else, it was good because it was more like the original Phoenix saga, which is she gains this cosmic entity during a space mission.
Oh, okay. So that's what it's. That's what it's been.
Yeah. So this Phoenix is more accurate to the original concept.
You know what that story reminded me of was the whole Spider-Man with the Tobey Maguire. Remember, like does the web come from?
It was organic instead of him building a web shooter.
That's exactly the parallel I saw with the Dark Phoenix. With them telling us in Apocalypse, like, no, it was always in her. It was her ability. Yeah. And it's like, no, it wasn't. It was a different force being, and that's what they did in this one. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I will say that scene did have one of the best Cyclops moments. Like that whole Cyclops cannon that they had with the X-Wing, I really liked.
There's no such thing as a good Cyclops moment.
Jose hates Cyclops.
I kind of do too.
Is it the pouty lips?
Every iteration of Cyclops, I've at least given it a chance, and I've grown to dislike every iteration, whether it was comics, every animated cartoon, every movie. It's like, oh my God, this guy sucks. I had trouble watching James Marsden movies for a while because he was like,
well, the thing is, James Marsden I can see, but I actually didn't mind Ty Sheridan as much. I think in the other movies he was in as Cyclops, I didn't really like him that much, but in this he didn't bother me as much.
I think
Marsden it's mainly
because
but yeah, so that's basically what it is, that big mission. It's different than what they established a couple of movies ago about how she got her Phoenix power, but it's more true to what the comics were. And if you're going to do it, I'm glad they chose that route because it's their last time to do these characters. And I thought that was cool. I liked it. I like seeing the imagery of them in space because we haven't seen that in an X-Men movie yet. And that was really fucking rad.
It looked kind of Fantastic Four-ish, didn't it?
It was kind of cool.
Yeah.
I liked seeing Nightwalker and Nightcrawler and Quicksilver with them going like that.
They were good together.
That was just so cool, just to see all that just working right off the bat. I have to wait till the third act to get this.
Dude, and Mystique was a boss, man. She was over there barking out orders: do this, do this, do this, do this, and everybody had a role in it. It was good, clever.
Yeah, and this is where some of the conflict comes in because Mystique didn't want to go. She thought Professor X was a little crazy, sending them into space to please the people who've been trying to, hold them down or be different. And she didn't like this mission, but she did it anyway. And then she was like, okay, all right, we got our people. We're going, wait, there's one more that's still in that shuttle. And she's like, fuck it, we're leaving him. He's going to die, all right? We got the people here. I'm not going to put anybody else at risk. And, James McAvoy's like, no. Gene, do it. And she's just like, all right, let's go. And they adapted to the situation. It was cool because you saw Quicksilver come really quick and just wrap up Nightcrawler in the with the duct tape and the space helmet. And they go over there and they get it. And it just basically fucked up Jean Grey. And that's where the big part of the conflict between Professor X and Mystique and Jean Grey starts to come into play.
And she does it because the cosmic force is about to hit their shuttle.
Yeah.
So she uses her powers to draw it to her, and she ends up absorbing it.
Yeah.
So she redirects it.
Yeah. And so they're back on Earth. Jean seems to be okay, and Mystique has her fucking #MeToo moment against Professor X. Starts calling everybody X-women for no reason whatsoever.
It came so unprovoked. That was the thing. Like, you just forced a political point.
It didn't fit in the conversation.
No, nowhere. Is that out of nowhere? We're not even talking about gender shit.
It wasn't in the script, man. I'm so convinced it wasn't in the script. J-Law forced, and the director's like, okay, well, let's do that. She's an A-list actress.
I can't remember the last time you sacrificed anything. What about jumping in front of that bullet to save you, and that's why he's now fucking paralyzed? What are you talking about?
The guy can't walk. What do you expect him to do?
He's literally in a wheelchair for sacrificing himself.
Yeah, it went from talking about them going on, putting themselves in danger and at risk for humans who have been against them this entire time, and went from that to, well, the women keep bailing everyone off, so we should call ourselves the X-Woman. It's like, wait, how did that get there?
From?
And you know what? I saw that clip released online before the movie, and I almost didn't see the movie just because of that. I mean, not to take a stance, I just didn't want that in my face the whole time watching it.
Dude, there was a long sigh. Like, when we saw it, you could hear the theater just go, ugh.
Yeah. No, in ours, there were people cheering when that happened.
Yeah,
I'm like,
no, we didn't get any cheers.
Crazy?
That's some chubby boy.
But that was the only time that happened in the movie, which I felt like was just a last minute put in. I think so.
There was another moment, but it wasn't that obvious, and it fit more naturally within it. And this is when Chastain's character is telling her about what man has done, and it's just the way it was emphasized. But it fit more naturally within that, which is fine.
Yeah.
This was just so out of context and out of place.
Yeah.
She should have just winked at the camera. At that point.
That's pretty much what she did.
Do you think that was thrown in there? Because who was it? Was it Spinner or Ratner who was involved in the whole?
Oh, probably Ratner.
You think it was thrown in because of that? Like, oh, well, he was in charge of these movies, so we gotta try to get those fans back.
I think so, because all I know is that at the beginning of this podcast, I listed off all the writers, and not one of them was female. So that was forced in there somehow. That was, I don't know, probably. But anyway, let's just keep this thing going. So
wait, I have a quick question. So when Jean Grey was in space, right, and then doing the shuttle mission thing, she didn't need a helmet. Did she use some power?
I think she had a force
field.
field. She put force fields around everybody in the space shuttle.
That's what I'm saying. So that's what she did around herself. Right?
Yeah, because you also remember back into the car crash. The glass is flying everywhere.
She had one too. Yeah.
Stopping herself. So
got
she
it.
can,
Okay.
Good point out, Minnie. I forgot about that, and I thought that was kind of cool. So Jean Grey is back, and they're back at the mansion, and they're having a party at night to celebrate it. You know,
with who is it? Glimmer?
Dazzler.
Oh,
Dazzler.
I remember when Dazzler started going dazzling up in the backyard with the fucking music. I slowly looked at Minnie, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? I thought it was Jessica Chastain because we just seen the scene before that where we see the villains, which are the aliens coming down, and they basically found Jessica Chastain having she has a nice like family dinner party with her friends, and like the aliens just like body snatch basically, and they're these characters.
Are these guys in the comics?
I don't know.
No, they don't exist. They're made up.
They're just Fox's version of the fucking Skrull.
That's literally what they were, but like they didn't even have names, man. They didn't even have character names.
No, they did. Jessica, it was Vuk.
Yeah, hers.
V-U-K.
What about the others?
I don't know, but they never really emphasized the others. They just showed them as like background, like agents.
Train scene when you get this blonde guy that walks in there, it's like, I don't even know what I'm supposed to feel right now. I don't know who the fuck that is. I've never seen this guy. Like, that's when the movie really starts dropping and losing points.
Yeah, the whole bad guys were these aliens that were chasing the solar storm that Jean Grey absorbed because they wanted to rebuild their planet, because that burst through their planet and it destroyed their planet. And so they've been following it throughout all the universe looking for it, and then they finally witness it go into Jean Grey, and they're like, let's go to Earth and get it from her and make Earth our new planet.
Yeah, because basically what the Phoenix is the representation of death and rebirth. So this entity of the Phoenix, things that it sees as obsolete, it will destroy so something else can be born in its place. I guess it found their planet obsolete. And they're a little upset about it. So they're like chasing it all the way down. But it's like their goal is either to control it by controlling Jean or destroying it. But it's like, if you could have destroyed it, why don't you just do that before?
Yeah.
Exactly. Blow them up in the space shuttle.
Honestly, we're one of the worst like movie like hero villains. They're so pointless. Their motivations are pointless. Everything is pointless about them.
And it's upsetting too, because when I first saw their design when they landed on Earth and they started walking and like they killed her and like how they could just like warp people's bodies, I'm like, that's actually kind of cool, but that's all that was. And you only saw them for a split second before they transformed into human beings.
You can't have a good villain when they're nameless. Like that, I'm like, you can't. Like, how am I supposed to call? Hey, so and so was so awesome in that movie. Like, there's no name.
Yeah,
so
no, there is. We just call her Jessica Chastain.
Basically, and just a bunch of her doppelgangers. Like, it was just bad, man. It was bad. It really infuriated me.
But basically, okay, so now that we introduce who the villains are, we go back to the X-Men mansion, and the kids are partying in the woods behind the school, and Jean's there, and you can see she's a little different. She's a little bit more of like a party girl, and that's because the Phoenix or whatever was awoken in her or brought into her, absorbed into her, and what's that?
Jean Grey's a fucking tank.
She is. She was doing shots left and right.
She was putting back drinks like fucking nothing.
Yeah. And so basically she's there, and I forget what she was having a freak out about something, and then there was like a little bomb that went off and forced all the X-Men, threw them all like 10 feet away while they were partying, and she passes out, and that's when we find out that Professor X is just like, there's something different about her, and that's when we start to realize that there's something wrong.
Oh, because basically what the Phoenix starts doing, it starts deteriorating some of the mental barriers that Xavier had put in her mind to block off her trauma from when she was a kid.
Yeah.
Her trauma being that she basically killed one of her parents and that her other parent didn't want her and gave her away. So all that was blocked out. So this Phoenix was breaking down those mental barriers. So now, besides dealing with that power, there's the emotional effect of finding all this stuff out about her life, which is giving her trouble controlling everything.
And that was the main thing about this movie. She just goes on this destructive path looking for her dad, not liking that Professor X lied to her, and Mystique's trying to get her back. They're all trying to get her back. And she goes to go see her dad. She finds her dad. And
he's just a piece of shit.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit. He's a big piece of shit, but we find out that he is alive and that he gave her up to Professor X. And when you look at the situation, you can understand why he did it, but he shouldn't have shut her out completely.
No, and it always annoys me when you have, like the dad had in his dialogue of, you're the reason why like, it's just so stupid because he was already blaming her before the mom even died.
But she was the reason. She put her mom to sleep.
Literally, yeah, she's the reason why she
put
died.
her mom to sleep. You don't put the driver to sleep.
Yeah, but I just don't understand Professor X's strategy here. I mean, okay, yeah, let me take care of your daughter, but come fucking visit her so she has a relationship with you, so you can see how special she is and that she's not broken. And as I think is great for both of you. That's so out of his character, because that's basically what his school is anyway.
What was that? We don't know. We know that he gave her away. We don't know any of their interactions after that. He could have tried, and the father just, because it seemed he wanted nothing to do with her, because he said she died for him that day.
Yeah. I felt like if there was an attempt for him to be a part of her life again, I felt like McAvoy would have at least mentioned that part when he's trying to explain it to.
But no, I'm talking about reverse.
The father wanted nothing to do with it, because there was my whole world that day died, and you were a part of that, and then there was that flashback scene where Charles and the dad are talking about McAvoy is basically saying, I can help her, I can make her better, and the dad's basically like, there is no helping her, you cannot help her, she's done.
But he also said that there are these small little things. Is like, I'm not changing your mind, I'm putting little barriers into things to block bad feelings, set them up so you can completely change your own behavior. Why couldn't he just done that with the dad? I mean, the dad, that was a trauma thing that he went through too. Why couldn't he have done some fucking brain shit and just I just felt like that was just I
think what they ended up failing in this is one of the aspects that they ended up failing in, is Charles's whole thing is he's not going to go into somebody's mind unless they allow him to. But with Jean, what ended up happening, and this is again something that they failed in, is her power started getting so out of control that the way to protect her and everyone else was he had to do this without her knowledge. That's why in the comics, that's why he puts those barriers up. And then they just failed to say this in the story, is he did it to protect her and to protect everyone else from her.
Either way, without going into the father's mind, I think that there was, Professor X is smart enough and understands the human psyche enough where he could just actually work on that with him and just, But
you need to have a willing person. The father gave no notions that he was willing to work towards it or do anything. That was it for him. Yeah. But speaking of Professor, one of the things that did annoy me about this movie is, I feel, yes, did he keep that away from her? Did he keep away from her that her father didn't want her and gave her away and gave up on her? Did he keep away from her that she killed her mother? Did he block all that off? Yes, he did. But the way everyone was reacting to him here, you would think he was a mass murderer.
Yeah.
Who killed children for a living. Like, everyone started turning on him and made it the biggest thing ever. Like, yeah, was it great? No, but he did protect her from the trauma. He didn't do something so savagely that everyone had to turn against him. It was like, it's your fault. This is all happening.
It's a traumatic moment. It's a traumatic, like, you know how many parents probably wish that, like, if their child went through something traumatic, that they just wish that they could just go inside and make their mind forget about it.
And you could almost see it where it's like, it was a moment where you could have stopped Hitler, right? Because Jean Grey proved that she was super powerful. So that traumatic experience could have altered our future, where she could have become a villain. And no idea.
Yeah, and it worked. If it wasn't for this cosmic entity that just happened to go in her, there would have been no problem. She was thriving.
Yeah.
She was an X-Men. She was
had
on her
a
way.
family that cared about her.
Exactly.
And who knows if at some point in the future, when he felt that she was maybe mature enough with her control of her own powers, he could have sat down and told her the truth. We don't know that yet. Yeah.
But they were acting like he did some terrible things, some unforgivable things, and that it never felt right for me in the movie. It always threw me off because I'm like, you're blowing this way out of proportion.
Well, it was also a 50-50 split. Like, the people that treated him like the axis of evil, whatever you want to call it, they were the main characters. It was Raven, it was Hank, and it was Magneto. And they were the ones who we saw the most. Cyborg didn't really seem to have a problem with it because he still followed Professor X. Nightcrawler didn't really seem to have a problem.
Cyclops. Ray Fisher's in this shit? All right.
Cyclops didn't really seem to have a problem with it because he was still working with Professor X. He maybe made a comment here or there, but he was still, like, Professor X was the father figure. Storm didn't have a problem with it. She stood her ground, stood up to Professor X, but still, like, didn't abandon him. Nightcrawler was the same thing. The only ones that had a problem with it were the ones that were driving the fucking story.
And that's the problem, dude, is Beast, he wasn't a killer. So for him to turn and all of a sudden immediately start attacking the X-Men and, getting close to killing them, like that wasn't his MO.
That's because it gets to the part of the big wow of the movie is when they're trying to get Jean Grey back and Mystique steps in and tries to help her and the Phoenix explodes. It ends up killing Mystique.
Yeah, that's so dumb though. Why is that Professor X's fault?
But I was kind of glad because I was just so done with Jennifer Lawrence in this movie.
No, I'm fine with her dying.
When she got taken out of the equation, I'm like, okay, I think this movie just got a little bit better for me.
And Professor X is like, okay, she didn't mention X women to anybody else, right?
No.
We're good. Then that never existed.
No,
it's not in
even
consideration.
That. It's just like I felt like it was an okay end to Mystique. I mean, like, it was kind of in her face, like she was so against what they were doing. And then, we have to help her. No, you don't understand. We have to help her this way. She's like, no, we're going to do it this way. And then she dies doing it her way. It's just like, fucking told you.
Yeah, and this is what leads to Beast. He was all Mr. Fantastic with the reach that he did here, where he blames the whole thing on Xavier.
Oh, that
you are the reason that Mystique is dead. It's like, wait, how did you put that together? Like, because he took trauma away from a girl, that's the reason Mystique is dead right now?
Fucking crazy, man.
Basically, Jose, that's exactly what he's saying.
And then he switches, like you said, to she needs to die. It's like, whoa, Beast.
Yeah. Calm down.
Just goes right to death.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that scene was so cringy when he was in the kitchen crying by himself. It was so cringy.
Dude, he went full Daenerys on us,
I'm not a fan of Nicholas Hoult. I'm sorry. I don't think he's a bad guy. And I know he tries his heart out. I don't necessarily like him in movies. That's just my thing. Nothing personal against him. He's just not my favorite actor.
Yeah. I liked him in Warm Bodies. Because he didn't really fucking talk.
He was a dead zombie.
For this, I think it was a character issue, which you got that with just the way a lot of those characters were making decisions, the way they were reacting to things. Mm-hmm. Some of it was just like really off. So it's like, I understand Magneto is a big draw. in this movie. So like in one of the next scenes, she goes to see Magneto. And it's like, okay, cool, because they're trying to bring him in. But in the grand scope of the story, it was pointless. It made no sense except to bring him in.
Just a small conflict.
She goes to him and she's like, "You've killed people before, so I want to talk to you."
It was like, you have
intervention.
Yeah, I mean that scene made sense a little bit. The continuation of Magneto in there didn't. So that scene made sense because it was Jean realizing that she did something bad. She killed somebody.
Yeah, he kept on asking her, "Whose blood is that on your shirt?"
Yeah, but it was the aspect of she went to the only other person that she knew who did horrible things and was able to stop doing them, and she was looking for help. So in that aspect, that small scene made sense. The continuation of using Magneto didn't make any sense.
No.
I mean, to a point, because he found out that it was Mystique's blood that was who she killed.
Yeah, because of Hank, because he went out all fucking...
Yeah.
So you still
there was
could
just
accomplish
so
that in
much
other ways.
flip-flopping between characters' motivations.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing to me. So when yes, Disney acquiring too much is too powerful for one, but Fox has never gotten. They just don't get the X-Men right. You know what I mean? They just haven't. Like Logan was amazing, but that's Wolverine though. Like they just didn't get.
They're very hit or miss. That's what
they
it is.
are.
And as good as Logan is, I mean, Wolverine needs to be like 5'4". Casting Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, as great as he did, Wolverine
Dude,
needs
if
to
that's
be...
your biggest gripe, I'll take that.
Yeah, no,
Logan was amazing.
I want
That and
is
Origins.
Marvel Cinematic Universe. Danny DeVito, fucking Wolverine, would be the best Wolverine
With
ever had.
sporks.
Oh,
Yeah,
man, that-
sporks.
On the end of his fist.
That petition's doing well.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking, you are correct with the flip flopping. But that with Magneto, that has been the Fox Magneto through the whole time.
Yeah.
It's like he starts going good, someone dies, he flicks a switch, he goes bad. Starts going good, flicks a switch, and this happened again. So he's reformed his entire life, has all these people depending on him. Someone dies, he's like, kill mode.
Well, that's why I felt Sir Ian McKellen, when he portrayed Magneto, he did that really well, because there were moments where you thought he's doing something for good, but like he did a really good job having you see things through his point of view, and you understood why he was so bad. And then he had moments like in X-Men 2 when he was working with the X-Men to stop something. Like that Sir Ian McKellen flip-flopping was done with gravitas, and it actually made you really go on. I agree with that character.
Well, because the whole reason the X-Men were created was it was a parallel of the civil rights movement.
Yes.
Charles Xavier was Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
And Magneto was Malcolm
Malcolm
X.
X, yeah.
Like they weren't awful people. They just had different ways of trying to protect the people.
Different
that
ways
they
to get the
cared
same
about.
outcome.
Magneto, he's not necessarily a bad guy,
But they
He's
both
just-
want the same end
He's
game.
just doing what he feels is right to protect his people.
Yeah.
Whereas Xavier is doing what he feels is right to protect his people. Like and that's why McKellen was great, is because they captured that.
Yeah.
Fassbender, they have that here and there, but then they go, oh, Magneto's evil, so he needs to just start doing bad, awful shit.
But that's more bad writing than it is bad acting.
No,
Fassbender's
he's amazing
He's
as
amazing.
Magneto.
Yeah.
I really like his character.
too.
Even when they when the army started coming to his little compound and he's fighting with Jean Grey, like saving the army guys because
That
like
scene was fucking hilarious.
It was hilarious and cringy when they're both holding the helicopter. But speaking character wise for Magneto, I like that because he understood is like, hey, listen, you guys are leaving me alone, and I'm leaving you guys alone. Just get the fuck out of here. And he just doesn't want more killing done on his compound.
Yeah.
So he's trying to stop. He's like, get out of here. I can't hold it much longer. And I liked seeing that, but it was when he was flipping back and forth between wanting to kill Jean Grey and not. That's when it's just like, all right, that's ridiculous.
Which this, I feel, was a rehash of Apocalypse. Apocalypse, you saw him now just living a normal life. He had his wife and kid and all that stuff. And then they come in, they get murdered, he flips again. So we just got a rehash of that same thing again. He's living his life, someone gets killed, he flicks
It happened
the
in
switch.
Cable.
Huh?
Happened in Cable too, in Deadpool too. Same thing.
Yeah, so it's the rehashing of it.
The rehashing of it. But you know what I will say though? What I'm actually pretty happy about this movie was I thought their visual effects were pretty good. None of it really took me out. I think it was one green screen moment in Cerebro when Professor X was there with who was he with? Had two other characters.
He had
when he's going into Jean's mind.
He had Beast and he had Mystique.
Yeah, when they're there and like when they're changing from inside Cerebro to what Professor X was seeing, just the way that they keyed that green screen with the two characters, that was the only thing I remember throughout the movie where I was just like, oh, that was bad VFX. But all the fighting scenes and seeing all the powers and stuff were really cool. Like especially the flight. Something that I give them a lot of credit for is when Jean Grey, when she was embracing those Phoenix powers, like when she was at the compound, she decided to fly away. Usually in superhero movies, when somebody's flying off, they do a powerful and they go up. Hers was all like all the flying in this would just start off slow and then they would go super fast up there, and that really helped make it believable that they were capable of doing these superpowers.
The visual effects thing that I didn't really like going into that was when Jean finally starts protecting her family. Everything was so fucking like you go slow motion for like maybe the first one or two to show exactly what she's doing to people, but like everyone that she was going after was slow motion. It was like slow, fast, slow, fast, slow.
Which would make sense if it was a Quicksilver scene, but it wasn't. Actually, that was one of my biggest regrets that they didn't use Quicksilver more. He was just in the opening, and that was it. That was one of my biggest.
I think it was a reshoot.
Yeah, that was one of my things also because they did to him what they did to Nightcrawler in Apocalypse, which is they had him hit something really hard and he was taken out for the entire last battle.
Yeah.
And then he wakes up at the end. He was like, did I miss anything? They did that to Quicksilver here where him getting thrown against the wall took him out for the entire third act.
Kevin Durant. That's what they did. They Kevin Durant did it.
So basically, this is all leading up to this our next big action sequence. Those bad aliens that we were talking about earlier, they finally found Jean Grey, and they're bringing her to their penthouse in New York and explaining her power to her.
Evil.
It was so evil. But then Magneto and his crew with Beast, and Professor X and his crew with Cyclops and Storm, I believe, and Nightcrawler. They go to New York and they're trying to get Jean. And there was a really cool action sequence. I thought it was pretty decent. When you see them all fighting and using their powers, the way that it was composited as a shot and the way that the VFX looked felt like a comic book page, and I started getting, I'm like, oh, this is getting cool again. We're getting a cool action sequence again.
It was one-on-ones.
Yeah.
And you got to see Xavier in action.
Yeah.
You know, the part where he's controlling Magneto's second in command so she doesn't kill Nightcrawler while also paying attention and trying to help out Cyclops on the other end.
Yeah.
And you see, like, he's in a wheelchair, but he's powerful.
It's really cool to see because a lot of these movies where you have multiple heroes fighting together, showing them fighting together in action sequences and telling stories how they work together is something that not a lot of movies do really well. And I thought that they did really good with this. It was just so fun. Yeah. You geek out when you're seeing all these. You forget how bad the movie is for a second when you see all these heroes doing their stuff and the way that the shots are moving and the way that the visuals are. It's just like I'm a kid again right now for this little couple sequences.
This was the start of Storm being the best part of the movie.
Oh, how awesome was Storm?
She's good, man.
Dude, I love that actress. She's really good as Storm.
Yeah, that scene was the start of Storm being like, okay, fuck yeah.
Yeah, she was really cool. I enjoy Storm a lot.
Which is great because she barely talked the last movie.
Yeah. I think they were probably trying to cover up her accent. I don't think that's her real accent.
I do miss the Halle Berry line, though, about what happens to a toad. And
they get struck by lightning. The same thing that happens to everything else. I think that is my favorite line in the entire X-Men universe.
Yes, but your favorite character was Dreads in this movie, of course.
Oh, right? Dreads, that guy. He was pretty, I mean, it was cool to see. I mean, in every X-Men movie...
His hair did things.
In every X-Men movie, you always get a random mutant that has
power.
Yeah, there was that one guy in X-Men 3 who was like, he could make those cones grow out of his wrists, and he just like break them off and throw them, and it's just like...
Marrow?
Oh, yeah.
Was it Marrow or Spike?
Spike.
That is something that I like about
Marrow
the X-Men
bones.
movies. Every X-Men movie, they have a random background mutant, and you see their powers. Like, oh, that's cool, but you don't need to get into their story. You just see them doing that. That's kind of cool about X-Men movies.
We got that earlier with Dazzler. She had the ability to make music videos.
Yeah, that's weird.
One thing about this scene, though, and again, it goes back to just people just going to the extreme. So after everything that's happening, all the X-Men, all the bad shit, all the stuff Magneto did, and all of that, they got to a point of harmony where the government was like, okay, we know you're good now, and you've also been helping us this entire time. But it takes Jean flipping 2 cop cars. She didn't kill anyone. And all of a sudden, the government disavows them again.
Yeah.
Like, they went straight to, we're cutting it off. We're not answering your calls. This is no longer going to be...
The X-Men phone has been disconnected.
Yeah.
It's like, so many other people have done some bad shit. Like, all the stuff that's happened with mutants, and this is the one where it's like, oh, no, who cares how many people you save?
Yeah.
Like, you're done.
It's so funny, that moment when Professor X was trying to call the president through his X-Men phone, and the guy answered on the other line, like, who's this? Oh, yeah, the president's not taking your calls anymore. He totally... you never saw his face, but I totally pictured him as the mayor's assistant in Ghostbusters 2. Do you remember that jerk off? That guy is just like, no, the Ghostbusters are crazy. I had them committed. You told me to have them committed.
Well, here's the thing. It's like when he's calling in, you know it's from the X phone. You know who the fuck's on the other line. Yeah. Who is it? Like, then don't answer the phone. Like, just disconnect the fucking cord from the thing.
Why is the phone still active?
Jump on AOL, man. Come on.
Who is this? It's on the phone.
It's on the phone. There's caller ID. It's literally on the phone.
Yeah. So that's what I felt about that. I was like, for the purpose of creating conflict, they had the government all of a sudden make this big turn where it's like, all right, we're going to disavow you over that. Yeah. Even though you're trying to help the situation.
Fucking crazy. But anyway, so that whole action sequence, Magneto's trying to kill Jean Grey, and Professor X is trying to stop him, and he ends up... A really cool shot is he pulls up a subway train from underneath the city street, and he uses that to block them from going in and falling. I thought that was pretty fucking cool.
Which literally took 15 minutes of that entire scene.
Yeah.
That's a lot for the train to go through.
Yeah, that was and there were people still inside the train. It's images like that where it's just like that was a total comic book thing to do.
I would say here they did create, so like when Mystique died and all of that stuff, I was like, whatever, it is what it is. But they did create a moment of tension for me where I was like, are they going to? When you see Phoenix crushing Magneto's helmet in his head, I'm like, is she gonna kill him?
I thought she was gonna kill Magneto.
Yeah, so
you saw the blood.
That
too.
created a moment where I was just like, oh shit, okay, that would be a huge surprise.
And this is something that I thought was kind of weird. Like, I know Magneto was very angry and he was on this kill mode. Like, he didn't even try to kill her right away knowing that she was stronger than him. He just did this slow walk approach to her, and we just slowly floated like, yes, I'm here to kill you. And she's just like, you're making a grave mistake. I'm like that was your battle plan, bro?
Yeah, just kill her.
I think he really underestimated her.
Well, I mean, he's also running on that high of, like, they were both fighting over the helicopter, and then he ended up winning.
Yeah.
So he's probably got that, like, false sense of, like, oh, she's not that strong. I can beat her.
But still, like, he knew that she was strong. He should have gone in there with, like, a really fast... He shouldn't have just been that slow monologue-y fucking villain. Of course, the villains are always going to slowly monologue before they try to kill you.
And this is the scene where we get walking Xavier.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
He's walking on sunshine.
The marionette puppet. How
We
hard did you hear me laughing, Minnie?
You were laughing.
We laughed out loud.
I'm just going to say this about that scene. Props for McAvoy for not cracking up the that shit.
We did.
I was laughing so hard in the theater seeing his crooked little feet just go walking up the stairs.
And did she have to crush his chair after?
Yeah, I know. What the hell?
It's just excessive at this point. Like, damn.
What did she say? She said something along like "walk to me" or like
yeah.
It's like, you know I can't.
Gene, you know I can't. It's like, well, did you have to answer that? Like, obviously, it's rhetorical.
I'm in a wheelchair, Gene.
Come on.
You think this shit's for decoration, bitch? What the fuck?
You think it's a fashion sense? Come on.
Like I'm at a supermarket and I'm just taking advantage of one of those fucking motorized carts? Fuck no.
Yeah.
All right, so Jean is she basically beat up Magneto. She crushed his helmet on him, and then she stabbed him with his helmet, and she sent him flying outside. And she got fucking Professor X walking up the stairs like a fucking Pinocchio puppet. And basically the alien that's with her, what's her name, Jessica Chastain, is just like, this power is like we have to destroy them. And then Professor X, he had this cool moment where it's like, I can't get inside your mind, so get inside mine. And he was thinking about that moment when he first gave her the pen to like, kind of like, it's your gift, you have to choose it. And she just realized that he's not like, she always has the choice, you know? And so she kind of stopped it. And then she's like, I don't want this power anymore. And the alien's just like, give it to me. and she just gives her like this really weird fucking chick hug. And then they start like fucking orgasming together, sending the power there. And then finally, you know, Cyclops comes in and fucking blasts the alien away from her, and
because she starts taking in too much power.
Yeah,
and he's like, "You're gonna kill her," but at this point, she's absorbing so much, so Cyclops has to save her, which I found that weird. So Jean is powerful enough that that's why she's able to absorb the Phoenix and be able, and even she was having some trouble containing it. So what made me think that this unknown was going to be able just to contain and hold the power? And she's just absorbing it like nothing.
Yeah.
And she's calm. It's not affecting her in any way. So I found that a little bit weird because it was like, then why didn't she just absorb it a long time ago instead of like...
I mean, at that point,
strong enough.
Yeah, at that point, it's the villain hubris. Because...
Yeah, it's lazy writing.
Yeah, because going into the end, then she starts getting the power again, and then she realizes, oh, this is way too fucking much. So that moment is just villain hubris. I can handle this because I feel I'm strong enough to. I'm the leader of this race. Mm-hmm. I'm the strongest one of my people. If I can't do it, nobody can.
That's true.
So that's all it was. And she was able to get enough of it where she felt even more powerful. Mm-hmm. And then when Jean gave her the rest at the very end of it, that's when it was like, oh shit, this is way too fucking much.
Yeah.
What I found funny is, so after all this and no one's able to stop Jean, she's taking everyone out. And then she gets like tased.
Yeah,
she's like down for the count.
All right, so now we're getting into my personal favorite part of the movie is the third act. What were you
interesting thing about this? I found out that,
about the third act.
Yes, okay. about the train scene was reshoots.
Oh, okay.
So to me the best scene in the movie wasn't originally part of the movie. This was added on as reshoots.
This is really cool because after that sequence where that we just talked about, that cool little action sequence, all the mutants that are there, they're all imprisoned and they're getting on that train. That's just very similar to Deadpool 2. They're bringing them to like a mutant prison where they all have the collars on that suppress their powers, and they're riding on the train, and that's when they're getting attacked by the aliens because Jean's there. She's passed out in one cart, and all the aliens just start jumping on the ship and they start breaking in and they're going to the guards. The guards are like, man, my kids used to idolize you.
To Nightcrawler,
which I really liked because that makes sense later. And they're just like, Magneto's just like, you don't understand. These things are not mutants. They're attacking the train. It's like, you need our help to do this. And then they're like, no, we don't trust you guys. And then the aliens start breaking in. It's like, fuck, we should trust the X-Men mutants. And this is like my favorite part is when that guard goes running over to that control board. He puts the key in when the aliens are coming in and he slams the button and then all the collars pop off and you just see all the X-Men stand up except Professor X. They all just stand up, and it was like that cool hero moment where it's just like, you guys are fucked now. It's like Thor coming down in Infinity War, and Hulk is just like, you guys are so screwed now. That was just a really cool battle sequence, again showing all the mutants working together, and it was just fucking pure eye candy and awesome nerdgasms.
And then the slow change of Beast was that's what when it really started. Is like, no, this is what Raven would have wanted. Then he slowly turns into Beast and just fucking goes.
Oh, that was really cool. I love seeing Magneto just fucking let loose. All these characters, they just let loose, especially Nightcrawler. Because he
didn't let loose until like the end.
Yeah, but it's because that guard who said that is like, you kids used to be you guys used to be my kids' idols. And then when he sees that guard die, because this actor who's playing Nightcrawler, he seems like a really nice kid. He's a skinny kid. He's very humble. All of a sudden when you see him like get so mad that security guard died, and he just lets loose. I'm talking about. showing up and just fucking taking out aliens and shit. That was fucking
teleports one in front of the train.
Oh my god, dude, that was fucking fucking cool, dude.
Fucking tail going through the necks of shit.
Oh man, dude, that was like, where the fuck was this 2 movies ago?
Slicing and dicing.
Yeah, this was the best scene. The way they portrayed the powers. This was the best Magneto we've seen in battle.
In a while.
Yeah, in a while. Nightcrawler was badass. Storm went out there. She was doing her freaking thing.
Dude, that was so cool. And especially when she calls up Beast and Beast goes flying up onto the roof of the train and she's like taking out dudes with electricity and he's just like, roar! He's just like fucking, dude.
Dude, everything Magneto did, fucking stabbing a guy through the neck and he's still coming at him and then just fucking shoves him to the wall.
Yeah. Oh man, he fought very Vader-like.
Yeah. He did.
The hand part where he gets the guy's hand caught in a piece of metal and then he breaks his hand and then shoots him back.
Oh man,
so savage.
The only thing with this scene that I found like weird, like I can forgive it because everything in the rest of the scene was so badass, is he lets them go after he hears the guy in the radio. They're not mutants. He was like, wait, how did that guy learn not mutants? They're showing powers, they're showing abilities.
Because there was the weapons that they were using. If you notice in the scene before when they were all in the street, they shot him with like this like tranquilizer dart, which was made to nullify mutant abilities. Yeah. They shot him with that, and it didn't do anything.
That's right. But still, things were happening so fast you couldn't have just thought of that right away.
Yeah.
You know.
It was
but man, yeah, that was really cool. And then it was awesome seeing Professor X next to Jean Grey while she's basically catatonic and she's laying in like the Jesus pose on a table, and like Professor X is right next to her, but then Cyclops is standing next to them because there's a big hole above the roof where she is, and he's just fucking taking out dudes with his laser, and it's just like, it was really cool. And then he finally is able to talk to Jean in his head, and she's just like, I finally realized that that's not my family, and I know what, and you guys have been my family, and I know what my mission is now. And he's like, what? She's like, protect my family. And then she did like the bubble around every single X-Men on that train, and then she just fucking threw the train off the tracks and was like spinning, and it was just all this crazy shit, and we're just like, oh my god. And then we get into the part where I didn't think was as good as it could have been, because Jean Grey is now in like this industrial park after that crash, and all the aliens are coming in to battle her, and she's just going full Phoenix, and she's just like dissolving them as they're running towards her. And I felt like there could have been a lot more cooler ways to do that rather than her just standing there and just staring at them and they just dissolve.
I mean, that's the problem. There were so many of the fucking aliens on the train. Like, even though she's just fucking destroying and dismantling the train, oh my god, there's still fucking a lot of them. And we see her destroying like 4 of them because she does every one of them in slow fucking motion.
Yeah.
Like, it show everyone ganging up on her and then her fucking handling it like a fucking boss. That will show that she's fucking powerful.
Yeah.
Instead, it's like, slow motion, dissolve. Slow motion, dissolve.
Yeah.
What I think worked about it is because of her power level. So we've seen these creatures be shot up or pretty much dismantled. Like, all this shit happened to them and they still kept coming. So it showed the level of power that she had, that she was just simply dissolving them.
Yeah.
In a way. So in that aspect, it worked that she was just dissolving them, but they could have presented it a little bit better.
Because she was so powerful. That's like, it was nothing to her. She's just sitting there, just dissolve. And yeah, that means like how powerful she is, but show it in a cooler way.
Yeah.
Where it's just like you remember it. Because now, like, when it got to that part, I was like, that's it. And when the train stuff was just like, this is amazing. I want to see her do some amazing shit. Like, imagine if she could do that with some fucking phoenix wings hanging off her back while she was doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would be kind of cool to do.
Take them out like Magneto did with like 5 of them. Remember when he
Shoved
threw
them
them
in the
into
back
the
of the
train
train?
and then
Yeah.
he collapsed the train into like a little
that
ball?
was so fucking cool.
That's
dude.
a badass kill.
Oh man, that
But
was
yeah,
so awesome.
the slow motion kills, they do it the first time to see like, okay, this is how she's defeating him or like that, but don't do it for the next 5 kills where you slow everything down to show her fucking molecule
They
disassembling.
just want to accentuate the death.
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically what it is. She finally gets up to Jessica Chastain, and they do this big, huge, slow motion 360 shot of them trying to take the power, and you can see it wasn't affecting Jean. And then the other alien was just like, "Oh, this is too much for me." And then they go up into the universe because if she killed her right there, it would have killed the other X-Men. So she goes flying up into the atmosphere and Brightburn style and fucking kills Jessica Chastain
And herself.
And allegedly herself.
It's the last one. She killed
It is.
herself.
No, it's not. They wouldn't have given us that thing. And so then, like, that's the end of the movie. And then they have the trail offs where you see that they're at the X Mansion and they rename the school. Yeah, Cyclops is putting up the sign, the new sign where it's not Professor Xavier's school for gifted youngsters. It's Jean Grey's gifted school for youngsters. And Beast is in charge. And I really thought that Beast was going to get a call from the president and was going to go to the X phone and was going to be Professor X there. But then I'm like, no, he's British. He can't be president. And then I swear to God, I thought they were going to go Dark Knight Rises. You see in another country, a little coffee shop, and you see Professor X sitting down. I'm like, yo, if he looks across the alley and he sees Jean Grey sitting down at another table and just winks at him, I'm going to be fucking pissed.
Well, it was damn near close to Magneto.
No, but it was cool that it ended. I will say that I did like Magneto coming down and sitting with him and saying, you know, at one point you saved me and now it's my turn to save you.
Yeah.
How about a game of chess for old time's sake? And I liked it. I liked how that's how those two ended, playing chess with each other. I thought that was really good.
That was good. But again, it comes down to like what he did was it so bad that like he even lost his school, like
everything.
It seemed like it was forced retirement.
He seems like he's not even in his 40s yet. He could still be running that fucking school, dude.
So it comes down to that. But I did like the moment between them. The part that I did not like is that when it looks up at the sky and you see the fire phoenix still just randomly flying
in the atmosphere,
and nobody notices it.
It was like.
But that's,
I think that was a way of showing us that Jean Grey still lives somehow.
That's what I was saying. You're like, she's dead. I'm like, yo, bro, if she was dead, she wouldn't have had that fucking thing in the sky.
Maybe it's the Phoenix evaluating if Earth is obsolete or not. Like, should I wipe this planet out or not?
No, it's not. And it's like, and that's Marvel right there. Yeah, no, annihilating, figuring out this is the world.
It was going to destroy the world before Marvel reboots it.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that was the movie.
It
wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be, but it was still bad parts. But it gave us some of our favorite X-Men moments in the whole Fox franchise of X-Men.
So if you recommend, do you recommend it for somebody like?
I feel if you've seen the other ones, just watch it. It's not the worst in the first one. It might not be the second worst. I have to see Last Stand again. It's been a long time in there, but. You had good individual performances. Mm-hmm. You had a good opening, a badass third act.
Which is a lot. There. It was very difficult for movies to do these days.
Exactly. It was just everything else that was meh on top of that.
Except the very, very beginning. I felt like the very beginning was very important to the movie because it got us invested. Because we expect a complete dumpster fire out the gate. Yeah. And when it started off decent, I'm like, okay, I'm giving you a little bit. You have my attention.
Yeah. Did you hear that... they had plans to include. I'm not sure if it was going to be the last movie or this one, but to include Logan in there. But then they felt with his age and Sophie's age that it would come off too weird. Yes. So that's the reason he was
Hugh Jackman's. He's done. As much as I would like to see him play Wolverine again, even in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as much as that temptation is, because I wouldn't want it because Logan was such a great film for him to end on.
Yeah, he had his perfect swan song.
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah, I'm not saying I would want it, but I'm saying like. I saw an interview where they were explaining why they wouldn't want Logan to be in it because of the age difference between. Let's say it looked too creepy.
It would have made
it looked too creepy. Him and Cyclops fighting over
Jane. No.
Well, they could do those de-aging, but at this point, what's the fucking point? They're not going to make any money. No. This movie did awful in the box office. I think it's not even $40 million this weekend.
And we predicted that it was going to be the worst one. at all of them when we talked about it last week.
Secret Life of Pets is projected to outdo it.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
So let's just, I guess, let's just give our scores for the movie, and then we'll talk about with the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe's version of X-Men. So, Jose, where are you at for X-Men Dark Phoenix?
X-Men Dark Phoenix, I'm at a 4 still.
Okay.
After watching it, one note about it is like I feel in the end
there was too much Cyclops.
what did we build towards in this X-Men universe? In the end, what did we build for? So we have like the Marvel one that closed out with Endgame before they go on to the next phase. But we've had all this X-Men for all these years. What was the payoff, the overall payoff? What did we build for? This was supposed to be the bookend, the close.
Professor X and Magneto playing chess.
I mean, in a way, but they did change the cast. So it's not like it's not the Logan, the Jean Grey, and the Professor X and Cyclops that we know from Bryan Singer's. It is a different class, but it technically is supposed to be the new continuity in a timeline that has been altered. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, what this is the end of that, and this was not the best ending, even though it had a great third act. I agree with you with that. Yeah. Minnie, what was your score?
I'm at a 6 because I'm not looking at it as a movie itself. I'm at a 6, not the whole end game of the X-Men universe. You look at that aspect, then it's at a fucking 0 because X-Men Days of Future Past is the culmination of everything. As a movie itself, I give it a 6.
Okay. Dan, where you at?
I give it a 4. I'm with Jose on that because the villains were so bad and atrocious that it takes points away from what could have been a 6. Because to have a 6, it's still like, like it's an okay movie, but it didn't necessarily have great things or it had some bad moments in it. But if your villain is like nameless, like you wrote down the name, but other than that, like when are you gonna remember that name in 1 month?
Vuck.
Yeah,
and probably because it sounds like
fuck. Exactly. Maybe I'll remember that.
This
but
villain.
It's bad. So I can't. If half of your movie, which is your villain, is not good, the movie can't be good.
No,
it can't.
So you're at a 4.
So I'm at a 4.
I'm gonna go. I was flip flopping between 6 and 6.5, and the more that we talked about it, I think I'm gonna land at a 6.5, just because the action sequences. I just went full nerd. Sometimes I just forget about the bad when I see a good action sequence that just makes me relive it over and over in my head. So that's why 6.5. They've changed so much continuity over the years that I've grown further from attachment of the X-Men series in the franchise, where I'm like, even if it's bad, I'm not that disappointed. But the action sequences and some of the stuff I liked in there made it at least a 6.5 for me. And I'm very forgiving with movies, so a score that low for me says a lot. Because if it's under a 5, I'm just not going to give it a rating. I can't distinguish a rating between a 2 and a 3, so I don't understand rating anything below a 5. So I'm at a 6.5. All right.
Yeah, and that's a whole discussion on itself. Is how does your rating system work?
Yeah, no, we should talk about our rating systems. That'd be very interesting.
Yeah.
But now X-Men is going to Marvel. So how do you guys even want to talk about that? This is the last part of our discussion before we end the podcast.
I guess we just go in what our projections are, what we think is going to happen. What are they going to do with these characters in general, and how it might differ from what Fox did.
Well, there's rumors that one of the snaps in Endgame causes the mutant gene to be created.
Oh, okay.
So that's one of the rumors going on there. But I've also heard that Disney Marvel doesn't have any plans to do X-Men for another 3-4 years.
I think they're saying that because they're supposed to be announcing the Marvel Phase 4 plan.
They're doing that in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, they're doing that.
Yeah,
soon.
they have that. That's what they said. They have their next phase already set, so it'll be at least 5 years before.
I think they're going to do. It would make sense if they did Fantastic Four before they did.
Yeah, they do have plans to do Fantastic Four before that.
Got it.
So especially with those rumors that Galactus is going to be one of the big bads.
That's what I heard, and I also heard rumors that was going to be revealed by Endgame, and it wasn't.
Yeah, but Galactus. Well, because they were the whole thing. Was,
yeah, it was ending.
It's the end.
It was ending, but those leaks went along with somebody who said that it's going to be announced in this movie, and it wasn't.
Yeah. But there's rumors that Galactus is going to be there, and Galactus and Doctor Doom are big Fantastic Four villains, and those are the two that are rumored to be the next big bads for Phase 4.
So it makes sense then that Fantastic Four will play a big role in
Fantastic Four is we're going to see before we see X-Men.
I can see that. I can picture them that because I think it would be a lot easier to reboot Fantastic Four right away than X-Men.
Yeah.
But what about, I mean, just because we're talking about X-Men, who do you see Marvel casting as X-Men? Because I think they'll stay pretty true to the comics with their own Marvel flair. But who do you guys picture? I think... What was her name? Hermione Granger from
Emma
Harry
Watson?
Potter. I think she's going to be involved at some point. I think they're going to get her to be one of the X-Men.
Dude, everybody literally is becoming a Marvel. Some Marvel character, and she.
Yeah, because I heard Keanu Reeves is coming on for the Eternals.
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves, Angelina Jolie, who else?
I don't know, but I know that they're coming on.
What was the other name you said?
Angelina Jolie.
Oh, okay.
But mainly, how about just to slim it down to one character? Who could you guys picture playing Professor X in the Marvel Cinematic
I like
Universe?
McAvoy. I hope they bring McAvoy
I like
back.
McAvoy,
He was a
too.
good Professor.
You know that they're not going.
Denzel Washington.
Denzel, that'd be fucking rad.
It'd be
Billy
good.
Zane. Billy Zane.
No, he's gonna be Magneto.
No, but actually, Bryan Cranston would be an awesome Professor X too.
Yeah,
If he was younger, I think he's a little bit too old now.
I don't know.
I think age-wise, Cranston could do a better Magneto.
Oh, okay, yeah, I can see
Yeah, I
that.
can
But I
see
think they're
Magneto.
gonna go. I think they're gonna go younger, like closer to First Class, because they're more relatable as characters.
Well, you can do Professor X and Magneto as older characters, like they did with Stewart and
yeah, but I think
McKellen.
that's a little bit too old.
Cranston. No.
No, I'm talking about as relating to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, he thinks
I don't think
younger
I don't
stuff
think
would
they're
be-
gonna go old like how they did in the original.
Because
one.
if they did that, then it means that they've already been established for a while,
Yeah.
which means they would have already been in Avengers and all those other movies.
I know they're not gonna do this, but a lot of me just hopes that they keep it separate. I honestly don't want to see it in the MCU. I want create your own X-Men universe. There's so many stories to tell just with
Doesn't have
X-Men
to be a part of
without
them.
having
That's a
to
good point.
blend it with the MCU. Eventually in the future, if you want to, you've got the multiverse where it can be a whole other multiverse in there, but do it itself. It makes sense. You can have it take place in a world where mutants have already existed and just telling their stories instead of bringing it in. And now you have the questions like, okay, how are they in this world now? Did the mutant gene just start? How long has it been? If they've been there the whole time, what have they been doing? Just have it be his own separate thing.
I think it can still be in the same universe, but I think what they should definitely do is what you're saying is concentrate on them. Do not concentrate on any ties to the Marvel Cinematic Universe right away, because the ones that worked are the ones that didn't try to do that, and they just focused on making good movies. And then eventually you can start to line them up together, because if we're getting a multiverse with an MCU, that means it's possible to jump between the universes. So I think you're right.
That's
I think
where the Fantastic Four come in play.
So I think that's what they should do. I think that they should, especially with what they were able to develop in Endgame with the time travel machine, and that they said that Captain America, when he went back in time and he was in another universe, and he had to jump back into this continuity universe
In order to close it
as
out.
an old guy and close it out, and that's when he gave the thing. So I think that's what's going to happen. I think that there are going to be their own separate universes, but at some point they're all going to collide together, and it's going to be with the technology that they had in Endgame.
And I think what we're going to get with it, we're going to get closer to what Deadpool has been doing, which has done more comic accurate characters versions of X-Men, like what they had with their Colossus.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
the Colossus is great.
And the uniforms, all that stuff. Deadpool has done a good job of
And Juggernaut. Oh, man, he was really cool.
of making their characters closer to what they were in the comics. Not like Singer, who tried to do his own thing with those dominatrix suits and everything else he was doing. But I think Disney will do that because they did it for Spider-Man, and they brought him closer to the Spider-Man we know.
That's true. Well, either way, whatever Marvel does, we know that they're going to do a good job, because that's all they got left. I don't really trust Captain Marvel that much to take over the universe. So I'm really excited to see what they have in store for us. And do you guys have any final thoughts on Dark Phoenix or Marvel taking over X-Men?
I'm just ready to close it out, and I want to see what Marvel does with it.
Na,
In 5
na,
years.
na,
Yeah.
na, na.
He says with a grin on his face.
All right, guys. Well, hey, thanks for stopping by and hanging out and talking about X-Men with us today. My name is Kevin Lyons.
I'm Daniel de Sangre.
Mike Candelet.
I'm Jose
And
Ramos.
Jose.
Jose Ramos.
Jose Jalapeno.
And if you guys are listening to us on SoundCloud or Spotify, I want you guys to travel over to our YouTube channel at 2 High McFly Productions, where you can see our short films, our movie reviews, and other great content that we have on there for you guys. You guys can also reach out to us on Twitter and Instagram at the same name, at 2 High McFly Productions. With that being said, keep going to the movies. Even if you think that there's not going to be a great movie, support going out to the movies, because every once in a while, you're going to find that one movie that you really love. And it may not have the best marketing. It may not have what you want, but eventually when you get in there and you find these gems like how we did with Dark Phoenix and seeing those really cool action sequences, at least you can take that from you. So keep the movies alive, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.